Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Studio 58A live here at the Jamaica Information Service, our discussion program coming to you live on Facebook and now Zoom, as you can imagine, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm your host, Vaughn Davis. Thank you to everyone tuning in wherever you are. We really do appreciate it. Thank you very much for your eyes. And like how we have your attention, do us a favor now. Share this video with a friend or two or 5,000 so we can have a very lively discussion. And don't forget to send in your questions and your comments so we can keep things moving. Remember, this is your show, so we want to be able to answer all the questions that you have. All right? Now, it's an unfortunate truth that many of us will at some point get into trouble with the law, and an even more inconvenient truth that many of us will not be in the financial position to mount a legal defense to the arrest or charges brought against us. In circumstances like these, the only recourse persons may have is to make contact with the Legal Aid Council, which is a government entity under the Ministry of Justice, mandated to provide legal aid to citizens. Here with us today to go deeper into the various roles and functions of the Legal Aid Council is its Executive Director, Mr. Hugh Faulkner. Welcome, sir. Thank you. Thank you for
Right.
joining
Thank
us.
you, Mr. Davis, and welcome to your viewers and your listeners.
All right. So just to give persons a sense of what or the function of the Legal Aid Council is, just from your perspective, give persons an idea of what the body does and what are its various roles and functions.
Yes, the primary function of the Legal Aid Council is to provide legal representation for persons who come in conflict with the criminal law. So a person who is detained by the police, charged by the police for a criminal offense, and even someone who wishes to pursue a criminal appeal can contact the Legal Aid Council and help will be provided. Additionally, our mobile justice units travel across the length and breadth of Jamaica. And in addition to the criminal matters, they will provide guidance and legal information and legal advice on civil matters. But you are entitled to a lawyer if you have a criminal matter in court or you have been taken into police custody, whether under the state of emergency or regular policing.
No, again, I like to ask the question because it's something that, as you say, can happen to any one of us. We might run into trouble with the law. So the question is,
Yeah.
what are some of the general circumstances you find that persons, you might get a call that, okay, we need to help, we need some legal aid counsel assistance. What are the normal
Yes.
circumstances you find getting that phone call or getting pulled from wherever you are to come and lend support?
Right. So the lawyers we provide, they are private lawyers. So this is the pool of private lawyers that we assign the matter. So the term legal aid is actually to the person who gets it, but the lawyer you're getting is a private lawyer who we will pay and not you that does the payment.
Okay.
Because we at the council, we cannot accept assignments. So it's actually entirely private attorneys. But most times, Vaughn, is the caring mother that would call and indicate that, Johnny got in trouble. He has been taken into police custody and the police wish to question him. Now he's entitled to a lawyer because the presumption of innocence follows him regardless what is the suspicion by the police. Additionally, if he's taken into custody and needs to face an identification parade, he is entitled to have legal representation to ensure that all the processes leading up to the identification parade are followed and he's not prejudiced by the process. Additionally, if he's charged by the police, the attorney will apply for bail. First of all, for many offenses, you apply for station bail. You don't have to wait until you go before a judge to get bail. And if it's a very serious offense, then we will ensure that he gets an early court date and an application for bail is made in court on his behalf. So all of those criminal matters are the main triggers for the family members to contact us. So it may be gun related, it may be, and in the case of the youngsters, sexual offenses, etc. And again, we pay special attention to children once you're under 18, regardless of your height, regardless of your weight, etc. Once you're under 18, you're a child, and there are certain protective provisions that we ensure that the child benefits from.
All right. So one of the things that most persons like, if I imagine if they think like me, is to
Mm.
wonder if the legal aid is, up to scratch because you hear the stories unfortunately about persons being provided a legal aid attorney and who is not necessarily
Mhm.
one who's experienced or qualified or
Yeah,
well basically fresh out of college or law school or whatever
yeah.
the case may be are not necessarily equipped to provide the real detailed kind of service that persons may need. So is this true or is this maybe it might
Well,
be biased, but give us an answer to
in,
that.
in fact, Vaughn, I used to hear that as a youngster growing up, but that perception is a diminishing perception. We ensure quality of service, and let me just add this: a person who gets assistance from us, we ensure to give first class service consistent with the goals of the Ministry of Justice. So a person who is charged with murder, we only assign senior counsel for your trial.
Mm,
So we ensure that you get first class and quality representation. We go further that private attorneys would not go. Well, I,
mm,
I don't know if they going that far. We have had client and we observed that he was having difficulty hearing the judge, hearing the clerk of court, hearing the lawyers. That was picked up. And we had the court give us time to engage the Caribbean Center for the Deaf, and a hearing analysis was done, and we paid for the proper equipment to be fitted with the client so that he could follow the court case and he's not put at a disadvantage. The Legal Aid Council is the only entity that I know have done that. Additionally, you may recall Leslie Spalding that was released last year after 23 years in the correctional facility. His
wow.
sister came forward. The moment his sister came forward, we were ready to go to court because we had prior, before that, sent in 24 lawyers into the correctional facilities to get all the details on the mentally ill. So once we have a family member coming forward, we filed for Mr. Spalding in the Morant Day Court.
Hmm.
On the day that he was to be released, we were told that there's no psychiatric report because the Department of Corrections did not have enough psychiatric personnel. Well, what we did, Legal Aid Council, to ensure that this mentally ill gentleman got first class treatment, we hired Dr. Jeffrey Walcott to come to St. Thomas, come to the court, interview the client, prepare the psychiatric report at court, presented to the judge, and we got out the gentleman. I don't know of any other entity doing that. First class treatment. That is what the citizen deserves. They are tax-paying citizens. So any perception of substandard service must be in the distant past. But people ought to promote that the excellence we strive for. Additionally, there's a gentleman, the case came to our attention. He was convicted of a sexual offense. But he was, even when the jury convicted him, he was saying it was a gentleman with connection with the church that had done the offense. That was his side. And we introduced at the appeal level fresh evidence. Remember, he couldn't have paid the thousands of dollars to do a private DNA test. And we got it done and got him at appeal. Only Legal Aid Council, I know, does that. So first class service is what we give. In the beheading case in St. Catherine, the man that walked free was we put senior counsel on it and he walked free. And the consequence of any double murder could be capital, the
Exactly.
punishment. The gentleman who was accused of stealing Achilles at King's House,
Mm,
the Legal Aid Council was the entity that jumped in and got bail for him pending the appeal. And in addition to that, we partnered with the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment, and Sport, and he got a job at the Independence Park. In addition, a citizen came and offered the bail for him. So
right.
they're just too numerous to
So
mention.
just suffice it
But
to
they have
say that
done
it's not substandard
right.
service by any stretch of the
First
imagination.
class, first class service.
All right.
Not
I
only that,
think.
One, We have also provided handwriting expert. The dilemma we faced in one of the cases was that the available handwriting expert had also worked for the law enforcement agency. So we had to secure a Jamaican handwriting expert from overseas to ensure that the citizen got justice.
So you have,
One of
all
the
right.
legal aid counsel I know have done that.
All right. So, I mean, well, I'm sure online we have Ritiana Woolcock. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, Ritiana. I hope so. She says,
Yeah.
I always get the feeling that because the client is not paying per se for the service, one does not really get the best representation. Please enlighten me, thanks. I'd like to hope
Yes.
that she has been enlightened so far and she
Yes.
appreciates the work that you're doing
Well,
so
what I
far.
would say to Ritiana is that we could not preside over such a system. I would be part of it. So we ensure, because what is justice? If justice can only be dispensed to people who have resources, what kind of country would that be? We do not countenance that. And not only that, let me indicate to Ritiano that while a lawyer lodging a complaint, while a client lodging a complaint against any lawyer, has to make a written complaint to the General Legal Counsel. The Legal Aid Council, we act even a verbal complaint because we will not let one opportunity to correct any issue miss us. We're relying on written complaint. So a verbal complaint, any complaint, we are strict on that to ensure first class service and to engender public trust and confidence. And more, if you go to gun court now, the accused are asking for an assignment of a lawyer because we are building that trust and giving first class service. And if they need DNA, we are willing to pay for it to
Mm,
further their defense. If
all
they
right.
need a medical report, so a man who says, you know, at the time when they say I shoot somebody and jump over a fence, I was a patient at a hospital in central Jamaica. I couldn't jump the fence. So we get all the medical analysis and pay for it to advance his defense. So that the fact that he is without resources as a citizen of Jamaica paying taxes, he's not put at a disadvantage.
All right. So suffice it to say, let's just put that notion to bed.
Definitely,
There's
man.
no
Definitely,
shortcutting of
definitely.
service from
Right,
going on from the
definitely.
Legal Aid Council. All right, let me switch tack
First
a bit.
class service.
Let me switch tack a bit because and switch to something topical. We know that persons should be aware of the situation concerning Mr. Noel Chambers, the tragic
Yes.
situation where the man had been awaiting trial for over 40 years and ended up
Mhm.
unfortunately dying in custody. And
Yes.
so we know that the Legal Aid Council continues to provide a lot of service to persons who might have mental health challenges. Could you just go into detail
Yeah.
about the different ways in which you provide
Yes.
service to that group of persons?
Right. And I think the records would indicate because I've never seen any entity file 30 odd matters in court for the mentally ill, but we have done that. And part of the difficulty we had faced, Vaughn, is that if the client is still mentally ill, the court will release you. One, if a mental institution or an institution will take you, or a family member. So we had a lot of challenges with regard to that because when we had contacted, my ministry had contacted the Ministry of Health, Bellevue over the past 5 years has only taken two of the mentally ill out of prison. So we accorded those two spaces to somebody who was in prison for a spliff, so minor that ought not to have been there, and another gentleman for malicious destruction of property. So with the institution taking them, then we appreciate that. Because when we had tried for one of the gentlemen, his brother said he would not leave work to come to court to receive him. Additionally, he would not receive him because they are different mothers, right? And there's another instance where a gentleman had committed a crime in 1977. We made the application in court, the court willing to receive him, but if you are mentally ill, you have to be received by an institution or a family member. Because the mentally ill who is going out there, somebody has to ensure that they will take care of his well-being, ensure that medication is taken, and if the mentally ill has to go to a mental health clinic every month, that is done. And in this case, the family members, after nearly 30 odd years, indicated that they hadn't forgiven their family member and they would not take him. So the Ministry of National Security, in that case, paid for a private nursing home to take him. And then after that, thank God, his daughter in England came in, heard of it, and took over the situation. And since Mr. Chambers, up to before speaking to you, I got another call for assistance for persons. So at least it is stirring at least two people I know of that since Mr. Chambers, they now tell us that they are willing to receive their family members, and so we'll be making the applications.
All right. So lovely. There's a lot of work going on. It sounds to me like you go above and beyond for the persons. And if persons have, or if they know of a circumstance where a person who is having mental health issues and is before the court,
Yes.
they should contact you so that you can lend support where necessary, right?
Yes, yes. And I must thank the Savannah Lamar Infirmary, because there was a gentleman who had been in prison for wounding. And we felt, boy, it was a good case for him to be taken out of the system. We applied to the court. When we were in South, his family members said, his mother said she felt threatened by him, so she would not take him. We had to adjourn the court and go by the infirmary, and the kind matron there agreed to take him. And that infirmary was well kept. If you went there, the lawns were, well kept, and we were comfortable with him going there for treatment. So we also encourage other infirmaries that can take one, take two, take three, advise us at the council. Whichever parish the infirmary is located in, there are persons in the system who just want, a place that they can call home.
All right. So I have a question here from Terian Caballero. She says, "Hi everyone, thanks for hosting such an informative session. I have a question. Does the Legal Aid Council provide representation for land proceedings?"
Well, currently, the Parliament of Jamaica, in its wisdom, believe that you should be entitled to legal representation in criminal matters. And I believe, one, a criminal matter can take you from the comfort of your home into a jail cell. And you see what a criminal matter does for the mentally ill. It takes you to prison, which we oppose, in that an illness should take you to a hospital because you have not been convicted, and you only ought to be at a prison if you are convicted, and you have mentally ill who are not convicted, just an allegation, presumed innocent, and you're at the prison. So the criminal matter entitles you to legal representation as a right. But currently, unfortunately, Ms. Caballero, we are not able to provide you with a lawyer in civil matters. But for civil matters, persons in the Western End can contact the Montego Bay Legal Aid Clinic. I am at the Legal Aid Council, but they can contact the clinic at 42B Union Street, which is the NHT building, and the Kingston Legal Aid Clinic at 131 Our Street in Kingston, or the Norman Manley Law School Legal Aid Clinic on UWI campus.
All right, and they can get some assistance there.
Right, because the criminal matters, it can leave you the criminal record, impair travel, impair job, impair training, and take you from the comfort of your home. Plus, capital murder could also cause you to hang. So you're entitled to a lawyer for a criminal matter.
Well, it's unlikely you will hang, but I understand your point.
Yes, but it's still on the books.
It's still on the books. No, people might be wondering, is it really free? It's supposed to be free as far as most persons are aware. Legal aid support is free, but is it free? How free is it? As we know, is it free? Is it free in inverted commas?
Yes. All right. The clinics, remember the clinics, they are separate entities from the Legal Aid Council. The Legal Aid Council entitled to give you a lawyer in criminal matters. For the first part of the criminal matters, question and answer, ID parade, application for station bail, or up to your first court date, it is free, and it carries no application form to fill out. Free, so that this service is rendered quickly and speedily, and fees are not an impediment. If the person is to proceed to trial, then there's a means test that is done, Mr. Davis. But this
Mhm.
means test factor the client's circumstances, not what it should be, but what it is. So if the client agrees that he can make a contribution, then that contribution is paid at any Scotia bank across Jamaica,
Mhm.
right? But no money is paid to the lawyer because we pay the lawyers from senior counsel in the anti-gang matters. We provide more lawyers in the major anti-gang matters than any other entity in Jamaica.
I mean, this sounds really good. So it begs the question to me: how occupied are you? Do you find that persons utilizing your services very readily? Very, I mean, I would imagine that you're booked solid. People are always making requests, but how?
Yes,
Because, for example, if I come in and I find myself in a position where I have to contact you, I would like to
yes,
know that I would be responded to within a particular period of time, not that you're
yes,
so busy that you can't get
yes,
to me.
yes. But we must, that is what our team seek to do. And that's why I indicated to you, children, we are willing that if a child is at a lockup, a police station, or a child is asked to come in by Sisoka, and Sisoka says 8 p.m. in the night, we are willing to provide an attorney to ensure that whatever process is to be done is done and the child can reunite with his or her mother. Additionally, many times children are taken into custody. They have SBA, CXC, CAPE, whatever the case may be. Then you have a legal entity that can seek to hasten matters or to ensure that your educational progress is not stymied. So we have gone to night court for two deaf children to ensure that the police put them before the court so they could get bail to sit
Mhm.
6 hours the next day. Additionally, in St. James, we were contacted regarding a 17-year-old who had CXC and he was detained by the police, but the court had already closed. And the judge, Mrs. Wang Small, was willing to reopen the court and we got bail for the youngster that he could sit in CXC. So, in terms of children, in terms of the mentally ill, you need somewhat of a rapid response. In the case of a triple murder in the West, the gentleman we had to have a lawyer as soon as we heard of the incident to be there the very day that he was taken
Mhm.
into custody,
Mhm.
and the
Mhm.
lawyer requested that he not be placed with the general lockup population because he could be at risk being mentally ill or they could be at risk. And we separated him, even though the prisoners found a way to videotape him. I don't know how that was done, but it happened. So we separated him for his good health. And he too, we have provided aid for psychiatric help, just like we did in Leslie Spalding. The Department of Corrections weren't able to provide the psychiatric report for the judge to, understand that even though he's mentally ill, he's of quiet demeanor, threat
Mhm.
to no one. So we had to pay Dr. Jeffrey Walcott to come to court in St. Thomas, carry out the psychiatric evaluation, prepare the report at court, then produce it to the judge so that this man didn't spend one extra day in court. So
Okay.
those services we'll provide.
So you make sure to respond very quickly to persons who are in need and
Yes,
who reach
yes.
out to you for
And
help.
whatever. So all I'm saying, Vaughn,
Mhm.
just look at O.J. Simpson case.
Mm.
O.J. Simpson had the means to hire Johnny Cochran,
Mhm.
Dershowitz, Barry Sheck. But even with all the money he needed, a lawyer wasn't enough. He needed a forensic expert.
Right.
If not, he wouldn't get out. So that is why when our clients are in difficulty and they need assistance to advance their defense, we are willing to provide the handwriting expert. Right now, we have about 3 or 4 applications for persons before the circuit court for us to provide pay for the psychiatric report, DNA, or any other assistance that they need.
All right. So, quick question from another question from Ritiana Wolcott. She wants to know if the legal
Yes,
aid council is different from the legal aid clinic. Is there a difference there, just to be clear?
yes, the legal aid council is actually um, set up by statute. In other words, The laws that Parliament pass are called statutes. So
Mm-hmm.
we are a statutory body. Legal aid clinics, in fairness, were in existence before the Legal Aid Council, and many of them were started by lawyers, etc. Civic-minded lawyers.
All right. And another
But
question for.
they provide us with half yearly and yearly reports, and we also assist them. In fact, we were instrumental in ensuring that the Montego Bay Legal Aid Clinic shifted its location and got proper locations. And when we did that for them, their clientele increased by 100% immediately. Put them
All
in
right.
proper office facilities that you sit comfortably.
All right. So, switching tack a little bit again, we know that the
Yes,
Legal Aid Council goes all over the country to provide its services and so on to make sure that
yes.
everybody, because we need to make sure that everybody is able to access legal services. That's the only way we
Yes,
can
let me make a
truly.
plug there, Vaughn. Today, the
Sure.
mobile unit is in Mount Salem. So persons in and around the Mount Salem community, Jared Park, etc., Barnett Street, can just walk up to Mount Salem, close to the Cornwall Regional Hospital.
Right. So, what do you find are some of the issues or the services people come and request most often? You know what I
Right.
mean? Just to give people
All
a
right.
sense of what to, how to go there and how
Yes.
to behave, so on and
So
so forth.
at the mobile unit, persons sometimes need guidance on how to make a will. Many persons come with family matters. So this could include custody. For example, a father wishing to have custody of his child or a mother wishing to have custody. We set out all the requirements, prepare them, even though we not provide them with a lawyer to court, but we tell them what the court will be looking for in terms of custody. So one, you must have a proper home for the child. The child must have access to running water, kitchen and bathroom facilities. You must ensure that the child gets moral instructions, normally through a church. Um, you will, in terms of the health situation, is the child suffering from any chronic illness, etc. How you maintain the child? Will there be a time when the child will be at home without supervision? When they come from school and you not yet from work, what arrangements you have in place? So we go through all the requirements so they know how to prepare to go to the court. And we teach them about residential access, where a child has access to a parent for a day, return the day, or and right, sleep over for the residential access, and the non-residential access where the child goes in the morning and go
Mhm,
back to
mhm,
the
mhm.
other parent in the afternoon. So we prepare them for on the mobile unit. And additionally, people ask a lot of questions about divorce, and we guide them on divorce, what is required, the time period before you can file for divorce, um, that what must be served on the respondent, the person filing the divorce, the petitioner, and we ensure that they know that the documents you can't just go through the process without your husband or wife not knowing. The documents have to be served, and even if they're not served personally, you have to apply to the court for substituted service for some other means of letting the person know of the divorce. We also get a lot of questions about persons dying, not leaving a will, which is called intestacy. And we teach them about the process of letters of administration and the fact that the administrator general will come in if a person dies without a will and they have children under 18. So they are guaranteed assistance from administrator general in that case. And those who died with a will, we explain to them the process of probate, which must be done for the executor to act on the property. So those are the main concerns.
And so, do you find that persons are making a greater effort these days to access legal services? Because I would imagine there was once a time when persons just thought, boy, that are just for rich people, that are just something where,
Yes,
I mean, maybe if I find myself in
yes,
facing a criminal matter, I would have to muster
yes,
up the money to do that. But these times,
yes.
persons are making a greater effort to understand and apply these legal principles so that they can actually benefit from them and improve their life circumstances.
Well, Vaughn, the other option, persons have to realize that many times when they have issues, they will handle it themselves. Sometimes it creates violence
That's
and
true.
sometimes death. So we are encouraging persons go the route of having the matter resolved. Some matters may even be channeled to restorative justice. Some matters will be channeled to mediation. So go those options rather than you take things into your own hands. Even this thing of vigilante justice, where a community believes that somebody has committed that crime and they seek the exact punishment. And we try to encourage persons, would you like to be accused of something? One, you are determined to be guilty without having a say, and somebody willing to kill you, and you have no chance of appeal, and it guarantees that some injustice may be done. So we encourage persons to follow the formal channels and go to the court, get legal advice, take the necessary steps that you need to take.
All
And
right.
so when we held our in fact on the 21st of February, just before the COVID, the three legal aid council units went to St. James, and there were over 300 people on that session just for expungement matters. So the numbers are increasing. Now in the COVID period, we have to encourage more of a steady stream than a crowd. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right. So we are telling people that on this occasion, you may not come to the mobile unit, but we'll be having a schedule whereby they'll be visiting the justice centers across Jamaica. So don't
Right.
believe that if you miss them today, you won't have another opportunity soon.
Right, which brings me actually to a good point, which is that persons who are coming out to the center or to any of the different
Yeah.
mobile clinics, just to keep them, just give them an idea of what kind of health and safety measures that they'll have to keep in mind as they come, and because we're still in COVID time, so we can't exactly pretend
Yeah.
like things change. You know what I mean? This is the reason why we're doing this via Zoom and they're not in the studio. So just give
Correct.
them an idea
Right.
of
So,
what they'll have to do.
yes, it's a legal requirement because there's what is called the disaster risk management law, and that law carries with it some enforcement orders. So we're asking persons to be properly masked, or lawyers will be properly masked. And in the mobile unit, we only deal with one client at a time. So if we are at a justice center, a second lawyer will be in the justice center where you can have the requisite distance, additionally the sanitization, etc., temperature checks, and so will be done.
All right. Quick question from another question from Ritiana Wilcock, which we really appreciate all these questions. We're glad this is why we do the
Yeah,
program so that if you have questions,
yeah.
you can send them to the relevant person. So she's asking, so what's the process in getting a case to the council? Do you have to go through a court system or what? I know you may have touched on it before, but it's always good to repeat.
Yes, yes. Well, Ritiana, a person who is in Kingston and St. Andrew can come to the council, 72 Harbour Street, Air Jamaica building on the ground floor. A person who is not near to a legal aid clinic, to ask them to start the process for them, can also call us. Additionally, the request can be emailed to us at aid.legal at moj.gov.jm. And the final catch, the safe net, is that in court, when you stand up with a charge, the judge will ask you, do you have a lawyer? And if you say, no, Your Honor, I cannot afford one, then one will be assigned to you. And as I indicated, what we seek to do, gun court or gun court lawyers. So we will not have a lawyer who specializes in conveyancing, sending them on a gun court matter. Only senior counsel for murder. All of that is that as we're building public trust and acceptance and to ensure that a person's financial state does not mitigate, the best help that they can get.
All right. So now, as we kind of try to bring things down, Mr. Faulkner,
Yes.
is there any I want to give you the floor for a minute or two just to share what you would like persons to be appreciate about the services offered by the Legal Aid Council. Is there anything that we've overlooked that you want persons to know so that they can either change their perception like Miss Woolcock or to just get a bit better appreciation of the services that you provide?
Yes, well, as I indicate, one of the guiding principles is that there must be rapid response for children and the mentally ill. So the less delay you have, the better. Additionally, for the state of emergency, I must commend the Cornwall Bar because when the state of emergency, the first major state in 2018 commenced, 23 lawyers from Western Jamaica partnered with us to provide representation for hundreds of young people. It was the Legal Aid Council and the Cornwall Bar that spearheaded that. So likewise now, if persons are detained under the state of emergency, assistance can be sought from us because these applications are not directed at the regular court. They are directed at a tribunal. So if there is a notice of objection to be filed, we can file that for you. And just to tell the public that our two newest justice mobile units are equipped with disability ramps. So a person who is disabled will not only see a beautiful bus and can go in it, but they will see a beautiful bus that they are put in a wheelchair, elevated, and brought into the bus.
All right, lovely. All right, so I think that should be as much as we like to keep things as long as we need to be. I think we've covered a lot
Yes,
of ground in terms of the various services, how persons can access it, and how they can get in touch with you. If there are any questions, let's hope that they can reach out to you as we provided the
yes,
numbers. Persons can contact the Legal Aid Council at 922-3761, 922-3761, or they can visit moj.gov.jm and look for that's the Ministry of Justice's website, and you can find the Legal Aid Council's page there, and you can get all the details about the council as well. So if you really have any information that you'd like to just shoot them, just get in contact with them, you can do so by that way. Let me ask you, Mr. Faulkner, is there
yes.
another branch in another part of the island? And you mentioned the Montego Bay Legal Aid Clinic, but is there another branch of the council in somewhere else, or is that primarily why you
No,
have the
well,
mobile
what we're seeking
unit?
to do, Vaughn, is to establish collaboration with the justice centers.
Okay,
Currently, we
yes.
have 8 across the island. So, for example, St. Anne Justice Center, etc., they will schedule the days when the persons in St. Anne's Bay, Ocho Rios, etc., they tell them what date the mobile unit is coming. So we are trying to expand that reach through the justice centers and not only with the legal aid clinics because most of Jamaica are not within even 50 miles of a legal aid clinic. So we are
Absolutely.
utilizing the justice centers to broaden access to justice for our citizens.
All right, I think on that note, it would be a good time for us to wrap. Thank you to everyone who tuned into our discussion. Thank you for your questions and your comments. We really do appreciate that. You know what I mean? Which is the reason why we have the program. We want to make a platform so that persons can get in touch with our public representatives so they can get information that they truly and need. And we are especially glad that you sent in your comments. Thanks to everyone who did so. I mean, these are what makes the program lively. These are what makes the program engaging. And remember that this is the reason why we have the show. I never tire of saying it. We want it.